In the north side is is a Lois Plateau. Lois Plateau, do you know that? Yeah. And in the east side is a Yellow River. Yellow River. So Guangzhou is in the middle of the Parsis fortress. It's defeatable land. Defeatable land. For in ancient time, for the infantry or foot soldiers, not easy to get this place. But even during the World War II, the Japanese invaders didn't invade this place. Just attacked that place by the Air Force. So that means a good location. Also nearby the Xi'an city, there are 8 rivers. And in the following days, you are going to see more rivers. 8 rivers embedded nearby the Xi'an city. So irrigation and agriculture is very good. Very good. So enough food, good location, good feng shui. You know the feng shui? That's a reason choose this place in the ancient time, Xi'an. So especially after 1974, 1979, and exact 1974, after Terra Army discovery, Xi'an put on the world tourism map. Tourism map is becoming more and more famous. Before that, quite a few tourists know the Xi'an, this place. Some explorers or professors know this place, but for the regular tourists, don't know this place. After terracotta art discovery, this here became the famous. Okay, very interesting thing is that actually, if you are lucky, in the museum you can see the discovery of the museum of the terracotta art. Yeah, discover farmers. Let's talk about how to discover this place. So this place discovered in 1974. That time, 5 farmers from the same village, Xi'an village. All the gentlemen's family name is Yang. So we now got the mission, tried to find a well, dig a well against the drought. By accident, when they dug about 5 meters deep and discovered some broken pottery figures. But that time's culture, during the Cultural Revolution, Cultural Revolution in China is a tumult times in China now, political messy. Life is very messy, and all farmers didn't know what's that. So they thought they disturbed some underground temple. So all the farmers so scared, so afraid. So some farmers hold incense and burn to silver peoples and lit over their prayer for forgiven. 1974, and also some farmers didn't believe that they got inside, took the heads of the warriors. Played that, put it in their horse or somewhere. And some farmers are very funny, and they put the heads in a farmland with a pole for scare the birds. For scare birds. Oh my gosh, I shot the bones that time. I shot it in that place. Because in the 1989, 1990s, I think. Anyway, end of the 1980s. And a guy stole a head from over there and sold it to the Hong Kong general's head. It cost 1 million Chinese money. That time in the 1980s. So it's very expensive because of 2,300 years ago soldiers. But during the Cultural Revolution, the people ignored historical relics. No people care, interested in the relics, Chinese relics. So even farmers, they didn't know what's that. So later, a journalist likes the ads, yes, journalist, and he worked in Beijing, but his hometown over there. One time, his wife, when he returned his home, his wife talked about farmers' discovery. He heard of that. He recognized maybe that's a very important discovery. So went over there, checked and found this pottery figures looks like the soldiers. Also this place not far from the Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum tombs, not far. So he realized that maybe this is very important discovery. So when he returned, got back to Beijing, he put a report and reported this place farmers how to damage it, what discovered in the place. Later one of the Marsh general, after New China is the famous top general, marshals, Ye Jianying. He read this report. What? This five discovered some soldiers. He was so interested in this discovery. So he sent several experts and archaeologists to over there and check what happened over there. So later, experts and archaeologists test nearby over there and found that underground military force. That time estimated over 6,000 warriors were buried over there in the life size. And 2 years later, in 1976, in the north and the west side, discovered another 2 pits. So, totally estimated over 8,000 warriors were buried over there. Pottery figures were buried over there. Estimated is about 5 meters. So all the soldiers arranged in a practical band formation. So very interesting thing is that today we, after our visiting here, try to figure out why that time arranged the soldiers like this. In the pit number 1, you're going to see the vanguard, flank, and the rear guard. Of course, because of the age, this underground pad is clasped, so all the warriors broke into many pieces. So some you can see the intact, that's reconstructed. Actually, most of the broken into many pieces. Maybe you see the terracotta warriors. So originally all the warriors painted colorful with the mineral dye stuff. But now they stop excavating because soon after discovering some warriors still colorful. It's colorful warriors. But later we had no better technique to preserve the color. All the colors gone, decayed. That's the reason I stopped excavating. So Emperor Qin Shi Huang, Qin Shi Huang is one of the greatest emperor in Chinese history. Qin Shi Huang is the first emperor of the Qin dynasty. He hoped his son took over his power, became the second emperor or third emperors. But unfortunately, this dynasty is very powerful, very strong, but it's very short. Just existed 15 years. 5 years. Later vanished. And Qin Shi Huang was born in 259 BC, and died 210 BC, just 50 years old. He became, became the crown prince at the age of 13. Strong, and reached the throne at the age of 13. So when he was 22 years old, he became into the political power. From that time, he took a lot of measures and tried to unify this country. So until when he was 38 years old, 221 BC, he unified China. So after unification, he regulated the Chinese handwriting language, and the currency, and the weight and the measures. Even the span of the axles. Yeah. And also he had the Great Wall, connected, because Great Wall existed already before the unification. So after the unification, had his Great Wall connected, and also had his palaces and his mausoleums built. Just his mausoleum, it spent about 37 years, about 700,000 laborers and criminals to construct his mausoleum. It's a huge project. So you must wonder why spend so long time. He's just 50 years old, 50 years old, and his tomb spent so long time, 37 years. Why? Because in ancient time, when the prince became the crown prince, reached the throne, and started to build his mausoleum. He reached the throne at the age of 13, right? He died 50 years old, so it's 37 years. Spent so long time. So today, the exports guessed, estimated just his mausoleum, occupies about 82 square kilometers. 82 square kilometers. Today we are going to the terracotta warriors. Just is a complete piece from the tomb is about 1.5 kilometers. It's a little bit far from the tombs. Yeah. So we see here the Ace Wonders, just a complete piece. We see Ace Wonders. In the future, one day in the future, if we open Qing's mausoleum, maybe the nice wonders or 10 wonders appear at that time. Who knows that? Anyway, in 72 emperors were buried in this area, but no one emperor's mausoleum opened, still buried underneath. In China, if you attempt to open one emperor's mausoleum, must get the central government's permission. Yeah. And nowadays in China, only one emperor's mausoleum opened to the public. That's in the Beijing Ming Tomb, 600 years old. Next time you have the chance, you can visit that place. But Xi'an is over, all the tombs and relics over 1,000 years old at least. Some is 3,000, some 5,000 years old. Like the Blackwell Museum is 6,000 years old. But most tombs, ancient tombs were stolen, or disturbed. But Emperor Qing's mausoleum preserved well. Why? And the experts said his mausoleum, his burial city, underground city, is very deep. It's about 500 or 1,000 meters deep. Because in the 1991, European scientists and Chinese scientists tested nearby that place. And the European scientists said, this burial city maybe is from 500 to 1,000 meters deep. But Chinese, Chinese scientists disagreed. Chinese at that time, those techniques dug so deep. But European scientists sure maybe that so deep. So Chinese scientists thought it is about 500 meters or 600 meters. But European scientists said at most 1,000 meters deep. And left lots of mysterious about this place. We still know that. We just got very limited information about his mausoleum. History book mentions this place. And after the Qing dynasty, there was a famous historian, Sima Qian. In his book mentioned this emperor's mausoleum. He said that time the soldiers dug three streams subterranean. Understand? 3 subterranean stream. Very deep. Subterranean streams. Yeah. Underground streams. Yes. 3 subterranean streams. Yes. And also that time, poured molten copper in an out coffin, and the burial city was filled with, palaces, pavilions, rarities, and treasures, lots of things inside. And a crossbow were fixed on so that anybody broken in would be shot. And a childless concubine and the workers working on the site were buried alive. Very cruel. And also, all the rivers of the China, like the Yangtze River and the Yellow River, reproduced in a quicksilver inside. Yeah, and also cattle made of the fish oil boiling inside for a long time. So just gives a limited information about this corruption about this place. Didn't give more information. In 1991, the scientists tested nearby his mausoleum discovered there's strong activities of the quicksilver, mercury. So that proved, this record is correct. Because this history is very famous. Also, it's not far from the Qing dynasty. After Qing dynasty, it's not a long time. So later, I know some of the historian guessed this place. Maybe that record was not correct, but this one is correct. Okay, who knows that today Anyway, let's take a look at the soldiers 2,300 years ago. What kind of soldiers, to fight is very fierce and very brave 2,300 years ago. Let's take a look at this one. Because before unification, China had the 7 kingdoms. After the Zhou dynasty, China separated 7 kingdoms, major 7 kingdoms. So this emperor led his troops, led the soldiers like this, and conquered and fought the other kingdom and unified China. He must own the first-class soldiers, and the first-class technicals at the time. So this time you are very lucky, a good choice, visit Xi'an. So nowadays Xi'an became the foreign tourist favorite. It's a must place. If you visit China, if you miss the Xi'an, it's a really regret. Like you visit Egypt, you miss the pyramids. It's really regret. But come to China, Terra Cotta is a must. It's a really good choice. Also, we are going to this time. You are going to visit the house highlights of this province.